Good evening, namaskar, and welcome to the Delphic Dialogues in association with Vena Trust. I am Tejaswini Kolhapure. Delphic Games is the twin sister of the Olympic Games. What Olympics is to sport, Delphic is to art and culture. Started in Greece, world leaders such as Nelson Mandela, Mikhail Gorbachev have supported this. It is a great platform to showcase our rich art and culture on a global scale. On this festive occasion, we bring to you an exceptional artist. He was awarded the Sangeet Natak Academy Award in 2012. A Rudraveena maestro, welcome Ustad Bahauddin Dagarji. Hello.
Namaste. Thank you.
Namaste.
First
Happy
of all,
Dashera to you
happy to Dashera to you and everybody out there.
and everyone watching this live. Thank you so much for joining us.
Most welcome.
Uh, we're talking about Rudraveena here today, and what you're the best person who could be here live with us.
Maybe.
So let me begin this session. When we speak about instruments, the first thought that a person has is either a guitar or a piano. The new generation mostly know these. So Rudraveena is an ancient instrument which isn't on top of anyone's mind. Only the classical fraternity or people who love music.
That's right.
So would you explain briefly the basic of Rudraveena? And for someone who doesn't know anything about Rudraveena, and if, how would you explain what the tradition is, where it's come from, and, just to give a little bit of a lowdown on this?
So the word Rudra means, uh, according to the mythology, stands for Lord Shiva. But the word Rudra in Sanskrit means that one which takes you towards refinement. So Rudra Veena is an instrument, or which we usually say in Hindi, we call it a yantra or a compass of measure, is something that takes the music and refines it and uh, redefines it in a way as to when you study on it, you know where the augmented and the diminished notes are. So that is what a Rudraveena is. Basically, if you see, any string instrument is called a veena. So you have the Shatatantriya veena, which is the Santur, 100 strings. You have the Gharshani veena, the sliding veena, which is the Sarod. You have the Gaj veena, the one played with the bow, which is the Sarangi or the violin. So any string instrument is a veena. The Rudraveena, or the bean, which it was known as earlier, is about 800 to 900 years old in India. Before that, we had the Matangi Veena. Before that, we had the Kinnari Veena, and so on. So what you see in the actually in the gold coin of Samudragupta Maurya in 276 BC is a harp, which is also called a veena, which has 7 strings, and which was without pegs, and the tension of the wire decided what the notes would be in. So overall, the process of veena has gradually evolved from 276 or BC, or even before that, to now. What basically, when it came into the zither form, or into the zither stick form, as we see it now, like a dandi and 2 gourds, the main thing there was, I think, it came at a time when classical music was highly developed, and that's the reason they got the veena in, because it was capable of playing each of the notes, or studying each of the notes of the classical music. Like, the if somewhere, if you say the ray of Bhairav and the ray of Todi, they are slightly different from each other. The Todi is a lower ray, and the Bhairav is a higher ray. It comes from the Ga. So to play and to understand exactly where they stand, the Rudraveena was being taught to vocalists to understand the difference. And then with that, it was not a solo instrument. It came into being as a solo instrument when it went into the chords, because later there were some bean cars who were playing the veena in the chords, and usually the veena players were people who were not living fully in the society. They were kind of sons or fakirs or peers, or people who were detached from the society as such. So, all in all, Rudraveena has not been a popular instrument. Also, they say that the Veena is something which requires certain kind of maturity and understanding. So, generally, after long thinking and choosing one, one student would be finally picked to be taught such things. And the Veena players had a rule earlier, which was never to play the Rudra Veena to make money. So this is why, this is all the reasons that put together, I think that the Veena is not as popular as other instruments.
Okay. Okay. So the pegs and everything are still the same as of
Yeah,
now?
and the pegs are the same. If you look at the structure is one long dandi and two gourds. So according to mythology, the long dandi is the hand of goddess Saraswati. The two gourds are abreast.
Mm.
Then Lord Shiva took her broken bangles and put the seven frets, and then he pulled seven long strands of his hair, and he put the seven strings. And to put the seven strings in place, he put the seven pegs, which signify the Sapta Rishi. On the other side, he put a peacock, which is the vehicle of goddess Saraswati, and placed on top of that a bridge, and the bridge is goddess Saraswati. So this is how the veena was made. Then at the first fret, which is called the Ada, you have two elephants usually. This is like the gate to the heaven. So this is, and the entire tension of the strings and everything is on the Ada. So that's why I have two elephants over here, and they're like the opening where the sound begins, and the Saraswati is where the tonal quality comes into life. And each of the resonators are also considered like Brahma and Vishnu. And the openings, there is the opening behind, which is considered like the opening of the Nabhi Kamal, which is like a sense of realization.
That's why it's a divine instrument,
Yes, the instrument is quite a divine thing in itself.
quite a divine instrument. And there are two. Is it called Bhoplas only, or
Yeah,
I know it
Bhoplas,
as
they are gods basically. So
that's for the
yeah,
Rudraveena?
they're cultured in India. They're cultured in Marathwada near Solapur, or in the slightly about 20-30 years ago, there used to be a shift from East Bengal to West Bengal, because honey used to be transported in those gourds to West Bengal,
Oh,
and the musician and the artisans would buy these gourds, empty them out, clean them, and then make instruments out of them.
wow. So what is the life of this instrument once it's made?
Once it's made, and if it's kept in good condition, I think very easily 150 to 200 years.
Okay, and it's very important to play the instrument as well. I mean,
Yes,
because
I mean,
I have done so.
generally one believes that when you have the veena in the house, you have to play it, you have to keep it in tune, keep on touching it, because they consider it as a being. In fact, there are some texts which tell you where to keep the veena in the house, in which position, northeast or southeast or southwest, or that kind of a position. And it says that it changed the entire harmony of the house, it changed the vibration of the house.
Oh, wow, how beautiful. Lovely. So now, where, because of the number of artists, there aren't many artists, Rudravina players. So where is it manufactured as of now? Is it easy to get it made, or do the artists themselves kind of? I did read somewhere that a couple of artists do make it themselves.
So basically, you cannot get it off the shelf if you wanting a Rudraveena. It has to be ordered. So there is Naeem Satar maker in Miraj who's making. I spent some time with him because he was making the old kind of bean. So to make this design of Rudraveena, which was my father's design, so I spent some time with him. So he's full-fledged making Veenas now. I think he's already sold about 12 to 15 of them. Then there is another boy who spent about two years with me, Kunal Joshi, who's coming out now, who's made one Veena, which has been very successful, and he shall be making more. So we shall see how that produce is coming out.
Oh, lovely.
Then besides that, there was someone in Alwar who used to make. There is Mangla Prasad ji in Kolkata, who is quite old now, who still makes Veenas. And there is a Sanat Haldar in Uluberia, which is about 4 hours from Calcutta, who also makes Veenas. Besides this, I think, yeah, I mean, Suvir Mishra is there who makes his own Veenas. and a
Mm.
few there's one person in Spain who has this entire tutorial of making the veena and he's put it on YouTube, and he's made his own veena with his own hands. There is one guy
Wow.
in Germany who's made his veena with his own hands, and there is
Wow.
a guy in London also who's made a Rudraveena with his own hands. So people are trying. I mean, suddenly there was a need for the Rudra Venas, because if you see the old Venas, like this Kanai Lal piece, Kanai Lal only made about 24, 25 of them. But now, suddenly there is a boom, and because of YouTube and all this kind of things, Instagram and all, people are suddenly rediscovering the Rudra Veena, and many students are coming to learn, and many people all around the world are contacting each other. I get a lot of mails and are asking where can I get one. So then we pass on. Oh yeah, and of course there is Karsten Wicke in Kolkata, who is a German fellow who makes Rudra Veenas. He's a student of Ustad Asad Ali Khan Sahab, and he works with the Kanai Lal and Sons people who were actually the makers of this Veena,
Mm.
and he's making good pieces also there.
Oh, lovely. So you think there has been a change over a period of time with, this sudden interest with non-Indian performers? Because I always thought that, and of course, because of the number of Rudraveena players, I felt there was an existential crisis uh, with the instrument. Do you think the sudden interest has kind of changed the way people look at Rudraveena?
Yeah, I think a whole lot of uh, recordings came onto YouTube and all these things. And lot, I mean, like for example, like my father's recordings, all those people who had compiled these recordings in Europe and America, and somebody asked me, what can we do with them? I said, just put them out. Similarly, Asad Ali Khan Saab's recording, PD Shah is there, and some old recordings, and a whole lot of Shamsuddin Faridi Desai's recordings, Asad Ali Khan's recordings, all these recordings out. And I think a lot of people are listening to them. And strangely enough, I mean, there was a lull between the 85 and the 90 up to 2000 and up to 2007 8, but suddenly after that the younger generation, all young people, 19, 20, 21, want to come up and learn the veena.
Oh,
They are
that's
looking for ways to, I mean, some of them are so serious that they're ready to leave everything, sit down and do the veena. So I
oh,
think
that
there has been quite a sudden shift, and there has been veena has suddenly become kind of popular. uh, I don't know. It's something with the sound that's attracting them. Something with the instrument, maybe because it's mystical or whatever. It's just,
it's
or the
very
shape.
meditative. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
wonderful. Yes, absolutely. I'm actually happy to hear this because I do, keep. I mean, I've been speaking to you, and I've been, of course, reading and listening to people, and I'm really happy to know that things are changing for the better with thanks to social media.
yeah.
But tell me something: if someone has to start learning, since
Hmm.
this is just like an introductory session plus talking about Rudraveena, and of course we would want to hear you towards the end of it.
Hmm.
So if someone has to learn start from the beginning, what is important for someone to, I mean, what should that person do? Should they start with classical music first, or is it okay if they start only with the instrument, and how does one go about with it?
See, I think if they have to learn the instrument, I think the teacher or the ustad or the guru will have to decide uh, whether they will be able to do it or no. I think that's a basic thing. I mean, because not everybody will be able to do it. It's just it's not that it's not an, I'm not talking that it's an impossibility. It is a matter of putting a certain aptitude and an attitude together. So if you put the wrong aptitude with the wrong attitude, the guy will be struggling for the rest of his life. Veena takes a little bit more time to learn than the sitar or the sarod, because it requires some more maturity. The notes are long. There are long uh, silences between the notes, and you have to kind of develop a kind of patience for that. So I think the first thing that parents could do is expose their children to a lot of music, everything, I would say, right from Indian to Western to pop to jazz to Russian to African to Japanese, everything, just to keep their ears open. Once their ears open, then the heart will open, and then slowly introduce them. Uh, like for this kind of veena, I normally say play the surabhar for some time and then come into the veena because the strings are very thick. But if you're playing the bean with the strings are slightly thinner than this, then yes, there are people like Jyoti Hegde ji or Zaid Faredi Desai or or even Suvir Mishra ji who are directly taking in students and they're teaching them, and they have really young students about 9 years old, 10 years old, but somewhere their parents have decided that this is what my child wants to do. I think you require a certain kind of seriousness because it's not about playing tans or guts or playing a tune or a dhun or something like that. They will have to play the alap. They'll have to understand a certain way of unfolding the entire grand piece. So I think, yeah, there is obviously a possibility that they can go and learn, but there's the students within them, they have to decide that they want to do it, and the parents have to support them. That's the most important thing.
So it's not necessary to start with classical music. As you said, it all depends on
No,
the guru and
no, yeah, because
how
you never know how a person will walk over here. I have had students who are learning guitar and then suddenly they want to come into the Veena. I've had students who've been doing some other thing and then suddenly want to come into the Veena. Absolutely no connection. Have had students who've been doing law, found a connection with the music and they want to do the Veena. So I think it's just when a certain kind of sensitivity arises within the person and he goes towards it, you can definitely show him. Okay, he might not be as prolific as some other musician or something, but definitely he will take in something.
okay.
And we'll definitely have more Veena players, more awareness about the instrument that way.
So is it easier to move from Surbahar into Veena or sitar into Veena or any other?
For this particular instrument, which is my father's design, you see the main string itself is a 7 number string, which is really thick, which is like 0.45 micromillimeters. Uh, Normally not used in any other instrument uh, uh, in India, except in the male tanpura jodi, in the two sas in between that thicker string. So I prefer that they develop some kind of calluses on their hand and then they come into this. Otherwise, it becomes too heavy for them. Or there are like 2 or 3 girls are there who are learning from me. One of them is doing this, but the other one will never get to this. So I'm giving her the one with the like the old bean kind of a instrument because I know that I know that much is what she will handle.
Okay.
So
Okay.
she is directly into this. The one who was doing this, I was making her play the lighter bean earlier with the lighter strings and then moved into this one.
So the heavier, the better the sound.
No, it's just a different tonal quality. I mean, I wouldn't compare both the Veenas because I think they're absolutely unique. I've also learned on the older Veena with keeping on my shoulders. It's a beautiful sound. It is just a tonal quality which differs in both. This Veena was made in mind keeping that they wanted to be close to the voice as much as possible in the Drupad Gaiki. So that's why the changes from tune wood to teak wood, the larger gourds, the frets instead of being fixed in wax, you have them tied up. Here you have a vasuki, which is snake head. So instead of the zither being one piece, we broke it into two so that the tension breaks in between and the dandi does not, the zither stick does not bend. So it's just you can say it was the necessity was the mother of is the mother of all inventions, and that's why this was made.
So what are the different gharanas, the styles of
So
this?
there is one Ustad Asad Ali Khan Sahab Gharana, which is from Alwar, and then there is Zayed Faridi Desai's uh, Gharana, which is around Delhi. Then there's the Dagar school of Veena playing. Then there was Bindu Madhav Pathak was there in Dharwad somewhere. It was slightly khyal, different kind of, but mostly around because most of the gharanas have come from Bandeli Khan Sahab. So they are nearly the same, and there are just slight differences in between them. So in majority, you have two different styles of playing. One is in the Drupad genre, and one is in the Khyal genre.
So tell me, as you know, talking about Rudraveena again, the propagation and the promotion of Rudraveena, do you think the government is doing enough for the artists and for this particular instrument, because it's such an old and ancient instrument? uh, Also, do you think anything can be done where you feel, I mean, as you know, different artists could contribute and make this into popular today's instrument, or revive it, some sort of a revival?
I think one thing the government can do is they can appoint somebody in the arts section who really understands music, someone who has studied music, maybe one of the PhD guys from the universities, or somebody who has keen interest in arts and music. Unless and until that doesn't happen, nobody's going to really look into this, or any other form in Indian classical music. What happens is, otherwise it just remains as an entertainment. If you want to revive an art form, you have to have a certain kind of taste, a certain kind of interest, as to know what the history is, what else can be done. Because musicians and instrument makers are like a clap. They're like two hands coming together. If you don't support the instrument maker, there'll be no musicians, and if you don't support the musician, there'll be no instrument maker. So they're dependent on one another. So if there is something that can set the ball rolling in both these directions, and obviously through the students, because you require new venas, and then you require new students, so the teacher can teach, the maker can make. If like in Japan, they have this they have various artists whom they call treasures. Like the other day, I was at a nephew of mine, Chantiyatan Karnik's place, and I saw this uh, jute rope, and I asked him, "What is it?" Well, oh, this is made by this woman in Japan. She's considered a national treasure because she has certain way of making this jute rope, and all that she does whole day is just make jute rope, and the entire life is taken care of. All
Wow.
her food, all her clothes, whatever she wants to spend on, whatever everything the government takes care of. So I think uh, in one way have to invest in culture, because the entire picture of India is only basic two things: culture, which includes music, and basically includes yoga and music.
Yeah.
So if you do away two things, we are not economically very successful country, or never will be, because our economic arthashastra, it depends. The arthashastra says that it is based on expenditure, not on collecting. So we are a country that gives, not a country that takes. So keeping that in mind, and keeping how the culture and
Yeah.
the what it is, if the government looks into all these matters, I think before we lose, because we lost miniature painting art, nearly it's gone. There is one thread of that from the Nansuk and the Manku family, which is in Himachal Pradesh, just one family, but he's not getting original colors, and so we're going to lose that too in some time. So I think also supporting the arts is very important, because basically for the next generation, you have a much more, I mean, you can brand them as much more intelligent human beings, much more sensitive human beings. If you don't have intelligent and sensitive human beings, you don't have people who would care for your nation. So the whole thing is going to fall apart. Because to have a very nationalistic people, you have to have people who are disciplined, who care about the country. Like a simple thing, if you go to a doctor and the shoes outside, everybody can put their shoes just in a row. If you have no respect for what is given to you, and if the government can't push that respect into the people by through a sense of love, not through a sense of power, then it's going to be difficult. So I think this is a big one to tackle, because life is changing, economy is changing, thoughts are changing, people are changing, and we are somewhere going away from what we were normally, in a way.
Yes, that's exactly what we at Delphic are trying to do. And we are hoping that things do change and things do look up. Um, also my last question to you before we move on to a little bit of music from your side, is how easy or how difficult is it to learn the Veena on, because a lot of online classes are going on. So is it possible to learn Veena online? And how, I do know that you have a school at Palaspe, and because for someone like me, if I have to come into, to come to you,
Mm.
it's, I did come to you once, but it was very difficult for me to keep coming back.
Yeah.
So, to learn online, or if someone who is probably not in the city and wants to learn from you, is it fine for them to contact you and to
Yeah, it
get
is.
into?
I think everybody is
At some point of
going
time, of
some
course,
point.
I
Yeah,
mean, yeah,
yeah.
people can
It
come
is. Yeah,
down
it
and
is. But they require basically they require a microphone, and they would require a USB interface. Otherwise, the Veena sound will not get transmitted because it's also frequencies below 2000 and about 20,000 hertz. So if normally what a microphone does is, or what we are speaking in, if you're speaking through a laptop mic or a contact mic, it is cutting off the background sound. It is streaming the sound into the mid frequencies into your voice or something. So because Veena has so many overtones, like if I do this,
can we have a like a small little.
so like if I'm playing the main second string and I'm playing the chikari, now you can hear both because we're using a microphone and interface. But if you're not using that, one of the sounds is going to get cut off.
Right.
So also I think it is, in my opinion, it's nice to have the first few lessons one to one. If the person stays far, you can come for some time, and then then one can continue online, because the sitting position, the holding position, it's much nicer. The hands, how to hold the
Yes.
hands, how to use the fingers is much nicer if you can correct it straight on, and then you can tell them, okay, go ahead with it. We'll meet online.
And your classes are on right now.
Yeah, I am doing a few people. One is in Israel, one is in Greece, uh, like that. One is in America. So, but also it depends on internet connectivity in India. Sometimes it's just like off the grid totally, so it can't help them.
So they do manage well.
Yeah, they do manage well because
Okay.
they have already learned for a few years. So
Okay. That's how I thought they were absolute.
no, they're not
Absolutely.
absolute
Okay.
beginners.
Okay. Wonderful. Okay, great. So we are going to end this live session with a 5 minute short performance by you. Thank you so much for being a part of this
Most
live
welcome. The pleasure is all mine.
and always being there.
Okay, and just on my tanpura and rag jog.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And for those of you who would want to see his videos, they are all available on his website as well as YouTube. And hope to see you soon. Thank you so much for being part of this live.
Okay, namaste. Thank you very much.
Thank you.